Hello guys, and welcome back to another tiny tutorial. And in this video I want to show you how my workflow looks like when I'm sculpting a stylized blanket on a creature's back. You already saw that on my last creature where I had a lot of assets here on the back, but I think it would be pretty cool to let you know how I do the blankets. So the first thing you have to do is going to your creature. It's better to have some subdivision levels on so your masking wouldn't be too pixelated. So let's just do a shape of a blanket here. Make sure that you have symmetry on so you can sculpt on both sides at the same time. Here, it doesn't need to be too accurate, because you can push and pull it around later on anyway. So when you're happy with the masking shape, then you have to go here down to the subtool menu, and then you have the extract menu here as well. And what you have to do now is just clicking here on the button, and you can see how it would look like when you would extract that. So we can turn around the camera, and every time I'm turning around the camera the subtool will disappear because the extract button is just there for a preview. So you can always click that and then move around again. If you want this blanket be a little bit thinner, you can go here and type in another number, make it smaller for example, and you can see now it's thinner. I would just go with the thicker part for this video. So if you're happy with everything and you looked around and everything looks good, and the only thing you have to do is pressing the accept button here. And now when you did that, then you see you have a separate subtool here. You can just click away the masking, and also when you're going back to the creature body, there is still the masking on the body, so you can turn that off as well. Next part. So if you have your extracted part here, we don't really need to sculpt here on this because it has a lot of polys here. It's too high dense, so we want to get rid of this. So what you can do is just Z-remesh this. Go down here to geometry, to Z-remesher, and then you can play around here with target polygon count. I normally use 1, and then click on the Z-remesh button. Now when the piece has a lower density, then we can work with that, because we can see here, because of the lag from the dinosaur, the space here, the subtool have a little bit of overlapping here, but because it is so low poly now, we can just smooth it out, right? So we can smooth out everything, everything here. And before you're doing anything else, you can just click on the close holes here, just to make sure that everything is on the right place. And something, for example here, when you have things like that because of arms or legs positions, you can sculpt over it, but make sure you have back face mask on, because have a look here on the other side when I sculpt here. When I sculpt now, you see that I totally mess up the other side, and we don't want that. So when you have back face mask on, it wouldn't happen anymore. You can find this button on the brush menu, down here on auto sculpting, and here is the button. So make sure you have this turned on, and then just sculpt over it. You can push and pull it a little bit just to make it more clean. You also can change the shape of it. For example, when you want a shape like this, I mean, you can already do this in the masking part, but if you decide to do that later, then you can do that as well. So just push and pull it around. Remember, after you pushed and pull it, you have to Z-remesh it again, because now it's just very stretched here on the side. So just do this again, click on the Z-remesher, and now it's cleaner. And this is what we need here. Make sure that it always lays on the body. So next part, if you want to make it cleaner, you can just subdivide everything, right? But it still looks a little bit wobbly. And we can fix that by using the Edge Polish brush. So click that. Edge Polish brush is a default brush in Zbrush, so you don't need to download anything. And then just go around here on the corners and try to make it just more clean and flat. Because you can see here it is all very soft, but for a stylized asset we need to make all the edges a little bit more harsh. So go around here on the other side as well. And after you're done with that, after you're done with that, you can still push and pull a little bit just to make it even more cleaner, and to make sure that, for example, those kind of scales are hidden, or can also work with the scales and just make some holes in the blanket. You can do that as well. So just make sure that everything is clean. The next part is making some folds on it, because blankets have folds because it's a cloth. And how I do this, it's normally I'm going down a little bit until it's a little bit more pixelated, and then I'm using the clay buildup brush, and I'm going and make some big folds here, pretty messy big folds. And then I make it a little bit more smooth again. And I also use the dam standard to make some more lines in it. And then you can go up again and do the same again. Just make sure you have some folds here running down the blanket. So it doesn't need to be really clean. So yeah. So the next step is, like I said before, stylized art is always really edgy, so you work a lot with the Edge Polish brush. So take this brush again and then go over the parts here on the side. You can also go a little bit more up again for subdivision, and then go here and make the edges sharp, because that's how stylized art look like. Go over here. Of course, the longer you take time with this, the better you can make it. I just make it pretty rough right now to show you what you can do and how you should do it. So you also can use the dam standard again and go down here and maybe here. You know, just be creative with that. Look at some references. You can smooth out the edges a little bit again. Do not make it too harsh. And then play around with the edge polish again, and so on. So after you're done with this part, after you have straightened out everything, you can see that you have some wrinkles here. They're not really nice looking at the moment, but I guess you get the idea. So one little thing I always have to mention is you can also put some little cloth things here which are hanging around, or you can make it with a stroke to make some patterns or something. Or, and this is what I also wanted to show you real quick, is you can also make some noise on the blanket. You can do it like this. Just mask the parts here from the blanket, and make sure when you are clicking the control button and you have the mask circle on, click on the back face mask again, because then you avoid the other side of masking, right? When you're doing that here, just like this. Just doing it pretty rough here, just to get you the idea. Now invert the mask and then go down here to surface and click on the noise button. And now we have here our blanket. And what you can do now is clicking here on the alpha on off button here on the bottom, and then you can choose one of the patterns. I would just use this one right now, and then you can play around with these sliders here. So actually I can't really explain every slider here, but for example, you can make the strength a little bit higher and the scales higher. Maybe the noise should go away with the noise. Also this noise. And you can finally, maybe a little bit less, can finally put some patterns on your blanket. Just play around with this. I mean, you can make it bigger or not so big. You can also play around with the curve here, or you can add some colors on it. So whatever you like. Also can click here on these buttons and see what changed. And something I have to say is you're seeing here on this side, for example, that the patterns look pretty messy. It's because we don't have really UVs on our blanket right now. It is always better to have UVs on it before you're using the noise maker. But I don't have any UVs here right now, so I only need to use the 3D button here and not the UV button. So keep in mind that it could be a little bit messy when you don't have UVs on. So yeah, you can fix that with other things. But for now, I think you get the idea. I just leave it like that, a little bit stronger. And now when you're done with that and you're happy, then click on the OK button. And then you have some patterns here. We're just ignoring this messy part here on the other side. So if I'm just turning off the mask now, you see that all the patterns would be on the whole thing, but we didn't want that, right? We wanted the area only inside the outside the masking. So before you're turning off the mask, you have to click on the apply to mesh button here on the surface menu. So do that, and then you can turn off the mask points if you want to, or you can just invert it and then, I don't know, just inflate it, or use the form brush to make some more lines here, or whatever you want to. So when you have this, then yeah, I think it looks pretty nice when you're putting more time into it, but I think you got the idea. So I hope this helps. This is how I do my normal stylized assets when it comes to creatures. So yeah, I hope this helps. Have fun with it, and we see us in the next video.